The 49 seconds inside the Hall of Orbits never left me. I do not remember them because the stellar assembly rejected humanity. Rejection can be survived. I remember them because of the softness in the room. No one laughed, no one shouted, no one called us liars. They simply looked at us with patient pity, as if we had brought them a nightmare and asked them to turn it into law. I stood above the silver world of Veyra, inside a chamber built by civilizations that had ruled the stars before humans learned to write. Transparent walls curved above us, showing rings of traffic, diplomatic ships, and the calm glow of a planet that believed itself protected by history. My name is Commander Mara Keene of the Terran Shield Fleet. I had seen ships break open in silence. I had watched good officers make peace with death before the air ran out. I ordered people into danger when every part of me wanted to pull them back. Still, that chamber made me feel smaller than any battlefield. Beside me stood Dr. Elias Vale. He was the mind behind our warning. For 5 years, he had lived inside strange numbers from the outer veil. He had checked every reading, rebuilt every model, and invited every expert he trusted to prove him wrong. None could. The pattern remained. It was distant, organized, and moving inward. The vote appeared above us in clean blue light. 412 against, 6 in favor. The Assembly classified our report as a Level 0 fear response. Their polite term meant humanity was reacting from species-level anxiety. In normal words, they called us paranoid. We had shown them gravity scars where space should have been stable. We had shown them energy pulses that matched no natural event. We had shown them movement too steady to be random. And we had shown them Elias's newest discovery. The incoming pattern already contained target geometry. It was not searching, it had a map. The high voice of the Assembly thanked humanity for its important emotional contribution. It said young civilizations often mistake unknown forces for hostile ones. It advised continued observation, rest, and psychological stabilization. Then the chamber lights dimmed. Meeting over. Elias stared at the vote as if part of him had been left inside it. They did not even ask the right question, he whispered. I wanted to say we would come back with stronger proof, but the truth was colder. Proof only matters to people still willing to be changed by it. As the guards let us out, I looked once more at the ancient chamber. Beautiful, peaceful, certain. Then my wristcom vibrated. A hidden message from Luna 9 appeared on the glass. The signal has changed direction. I closed my fist before Elias could see. The Assembly had refused to listen. Something else had not. While Veyra returned to ceremony, humanity carried home a secret that made preparation more urgent than pride. I kept the message hidden until the transport pod sealed behind us. The hallway outside the Hall of Orbits was too clean, too watched, too full of polite machines pretending not to listen. Assembly guards walked with us in silence. Their duty was not to threaten us, it was to guide an uncomfortable young species out of an old room without causing embarrassment. Inside the pod, the sound shield activated. Only then did I open my hand. Elias read the message from Luna 9. The signal had changed direction. His face tightened, not with surprise, but with the grief of a man seeing his worst calculation become real. It reacted, he said. To what? He looked at me. To the vote. I wanted to argue. A commander should resist conclusions built from fear, but Elias had not built this from fear. He had built it from timing, data, and the terrible patience of a pattern older than our politics. The shift had not happened when we entered Veyra space. It had not happened when we presented the evidence. It happened after the assembly refused to act. That meant the force beyond the outer veil was not blind. It could observe decision. 6 hours later, our ship, the Iron Dawn, left Veyra without ceremony. The assembly sent a formal message wishing humanity balance of mind and peaceful scientific progress. I erased it without opening the attachment. The journey home took 3 months. Elias spent most of it awake, refining the model with the new movement shift included. I watched the numbers become sharper and less merciful. The old estimate gave us 2 years. The new one gave us 17 months. Some versions suggested less if acceleration continued. I spent those same months building a plan no public council would approve if I called it defense. So I named it Industry. The Outer Resource Expansion Program looked harmless: mining stations in the belt, fuel depots near long-range routes, emergency communication relays, deep space construction yards, survival academies for civilian crews. Every part had a legal purpose. Every part also had another purpose. Mining platforms could unfold into weapons frames. Fuel depots could support rapid fleet movement. Cargo docks could hide shield corps. Survival academies could train soldiers who did not know yet what they were becoming. Elias reviewed the first full draft while Earth was still a blue dot ahead of us. "You are building a military inside a supply chain," he said. "I am building options." He leaned back, exhausted. Options are what people call weapons before they need them. That is why we need them first. He did not smile, but his eyes softened. Then we'd better build quickly. When Earth filled the window, I felt the weight of everyone below it. People working, resting, arguing, celebrating birthdays, waiting for messages, and trusting tomorrow to arrive. Before we entered orbit, I sent one coded message to retired Admiral Jonas Rook in northern Canada. The assembly rejected us. The signal shifted. "I need your help." His answer came 3 minutes later. "Come alone." In a snowbound house far from power, Mara would ask an old admiral to help hide the largest defense project in human history. Admiral Jonas Rook lived where roads ended and storms erased tracks by morning. His house stood between black pines and frozen hills, far from cities, stations, and anyone who enjoyed being watched. Snow fell heavily when I arrived, turning the world quiet enough to hear my own breathing inside the transport cabin. Rook opened the door before I touched the buzzer. He was 73, with a damaged leg, white hair cut short, and eyes that missed nothing. Age had bent his body slightly, but it had not softened him. "You checked for tails?" he asked. "4 times. "Only 4? I was tired." That earned half a smile. He stepped aside. Inside, the house smelled of coffee, old paper, and wood smoke. Star charts covered one wall. Naval histories filled 2 shelves. On the table lay a half-repaired shuttle engine and a row of printed maps that told me he had expected my visit before I sent the message. I gave him the data chip. He listened while I explained the vote, the new signal shift, Elias's timeline, and the plan I had shaped during the voyage. He did not interrupt. That worried me. Rook interrupted everyone, unless the situation was worse than he wanted to admit. When he finished, he read in silence. Outside, snow covered the landing pad. At last, he closed the file. "This is not a fleet plan." "No." "It is a mask." I nodded. "You intend to build war readiness under economic growth. train crews under exploration law, and place weapons where auditors expect cargo equipment. Yes. He poured coffee into 2 chipped cups. Good. Honesty is noble in private. In public, survival sometimes needs a costume. I did not enjoy hearing that. I enjoyed even less that I agreed. If the Assembly discovered what Earth was preparing, they might condemn us, not because they understood the threat, but because preparation would force them to admit there was something to prepare for. Rook opened a locked cabinet and removed a black folder. I kept this after retirement, names I hoped no one would need. Inside were pilots, engineers, miners, code breakers, medics, former officers, and civilians with records that looked ordinary until you read between the lines. Some were brilliant, some were difficult. All had one note repeated beside their names: reliable when plans fail. Do not begin with heroes, Rook said. Heroes often need a stage. Begin with people who keep working when no one is watching. I turned the pages slowly, feeling the future become heavier with every name. You will also need to accept being misunderstood, he added. People who prepare early look cruel to those who prefer comfort. I know. No, he said, you understand it. Knowing comes later. My wristcom blinked. Luna 9 had sent another update. The single incoming pattern had split into 17 paths. Rook looked at the message, then at me. His voice dropped. Then later has arrived. The threat was no longer one shadow moving through space, and Earth had to recruit before fear reached the public.
17 paths turned a hidden plan into a race. Each path pointed inward from the outer veil, not randomly, not like drifting debris. They curved with purpose toward the oldest centers of galactic power. Elias confirmed it from Reykjavik Station 12 hours after the split. The enemy had chosen capitals. Veyra was first. Earth sat outside the main pattern, marked by a smaller, separate line. We did not understand that yet. We only knew it was not mercy. The Outer Resource Expansion Program launched 3 weeks later. Publicly, it was a human industrial miracle. The news celebrated new jobs, new shipyards, new mining projects, and deep space training centers. Politicians called it bold. Economists called it necessary. Investors called it historic. Only the inner circle knew what the blueprints could become. North Lantern Base opened beneath Callisto's ice. Its public purpose was survival training for workers operating beyond standard rescue range. Its real purpose was harder to put in a brochure. We were teaching people to think, move, and repair under conditions where panic could kill faster than vacuum. I visited on the 10th day. The recruits stood in a cold hangar under white lights. Soldiers mixed with miners, engineers, medics, mechanics, shuttle pilots, and communication officers. Their uniforms were plain. Their faces were not. Some looked ready. Some looked sick. Most looked like people who had volunteered before fully understanding what bravery would cost. A 19-year-old mechanic named Tessa Ward stood near the front. Her helmet she held too tightly. Her fear was visible, but she did not look away. I respected her immediately. Fear tells the truth. Pride edits it. I told the recruits enough to make their choice real. The Assembly had dismissed humanity's warning. Something organized was approaching inhabited space. Earth had chosen to prepare quietly because public panic would help no one. Then I pointed to the exit. Leaving now is allowed. Your record stays clean. No one will question your courage. The hangar stayed silent. Tessa raised her hand. I thought she was about to leave. Instead, she asked, "If we stay, will we matter?" The question struck harder than accusation. It was not about glory.
It was about whether ordinary lives could stand against something ancient enough to frighten stars. I answered without decoration. Yes, maybe not enough to win alone, but enough that someone lives because you did not walk away. Tessa lowered her hand. No one left. Training changed them over the following weeks, not into fearless people. Fearless people are often careless. They became useful under fear, which is better. They learned broken flight paths, silent coordination, emergency patching, signal discipline, and how to recover after failure without waiting for comfort. Late one night, Elias sent me a new file. The 17 paths were attack lines. Earth's separate line was not. He had labeled it Observation Path. The enemy was not ignoring humanity. It was studying the one species that had prepared before being believed.
Observation path. Those two words stayed with me longer than any casualty estimate. Elias did not use dramatic labels. He named things carefully, almost coldly, because words could shape decisions. If he called Earth's line an observation path, it meant the data had forced him there. He appeared on the secure screen from Reykjavik, eyes red from another sleepless cycle. The main paths are aimed at command worlds, he said. Veyra, Halon, Istrix, the old trade cores, the archive moons. But Earth is outside the attack geometry. Outside does not mean safe. No, it means separate attention. He showed me the pattern. Around Earth's path, the signal repeated in short intervals, almost like a pulse, checking for response. Not scanning space, scanning behavior. It wants to know why we moved before the others, Elias said. A strange anger passed me. The assembly treated our warning as emotional weakness. The enemy treated our preparation as information worth collecting. Neither saw us as equals, but only one was dangerous enough to learn quickly. I walked from the command office into North Lantern's training bay. Tessa was failing a spin recovery drill for the 5th time. Her suit slammed against the padded wall. The instructor told her to reset. She pushed off again, jaw tight, breath rough, eyes fixed on the route. This time she finished. A few recruits tapped their gloves against the wall in quiet approval. No ceremony, no speech, just recognition. That was when I understood what we were truly building. Not perfect warriors, people who continued. Across the solar system, the hidden work accelerated. Lunar shipyards grew beneath black dust. Mars orbit built engine cores under terraforming contracts. Ceres Yard processed metal faster than public records could explain. Civilian cargo vessels received internal armor channels. Mining lasers became precise enough to cut through materials no mine required. Volunteers kept coming. Some arrived angry, some afraid, some because someone they loved lived under a sky they wanted protected. I read their files nightly. Names mattered. A force becomes easier to spend when commanders let it turn into numbers. I refused that comfort. One message came from a school teacher in Nairobi archaeology. I cannot fly, fight, or build engines, but children are asking why their parents are gone so often. What truth can I give them? I stared at it for a long time. Then I wrote back. Tell them their parents are helping build a door that must stay closed. In the 16th month, the Neptune array came online. For 8 seconds, every defense screen across human space turned white. Then words appeared. We see the ones who prepare. No source, no delay, no normal transmission path. The enemy had entered our machines and used them like paper. For the first time, it spoke.
Humanity had been noticed, and every hidden base in the solar system moved from secrecy into readiness.
The message vanished after 13 seconds. Nothing attacked. No alarm followed. That made it worse. An enemy that strikes can be measured. An enemy that speaks through your own systems and leaves silence behind becomes part of every screen you look at afterward. Luna 9's command room held still. Elias spoke from Reykjavik through a secure channel. It did not send a signal to the array. Rook leaned on his cane. Then how did it appear? It made the array display one. No one liked that answer. No one had a better one. We had built listening posts to watch the void. The void had reached through them and written back. I opened the secure network to every site under the Outer Resource Expansion Program. Callisto, Ceres Yard, Mars Orbit, Lunar Darkside, Neptune Array, civilian routes carrying ships with military bones, research stations where sealed doors hid more than experiments. This is Commander Mara Keene. Threat awareness confirmed. Move to shadow readiness. Maintain civilian cover where possible. No unnecessary transmissions. I looked at the message history still glowing on my side screen. They know we prepare. Let that be their first incomplete fact about us. The order spread. Mining platforms rotated on hidden joints. Cargo docks exposed shield projectors. Exploration vessels accepted combat authority. Training centers stopped calling their drills simulations. Engineers removed the final safety locks from systems they had quietly feared and privately perfected. Earth below continued living. That contrast nearly broke me. Children went to school, markets opened, music played in crowded rooms, families complained about late transports and bad weather. Ordinary life carried on with the stubborn innocence of people who had not been told how close history stood behind them. I watched those city lights often. They were not ignorance. They were what defense was for. 2 days later, the 6 civilizations that had supported humanity arrived secretly near the edge of our system. General Cavor of the Dravik came first. He was enormous, scarred across 2 of his 4 arms, and carried the stillness of someone who had survived enough war to stop romanticizing it. With him came Soren archivists, Nalay current speakers, Othari engineers, Braun shield masters, and Veskar navigators. Cavor studied the lunar shipyards as they opened. Hidden ships rose from under dust and false construction shells. Cargo vessels shed civilian skins. Defense platforms unfolded from mining frames. After a long silence, he said, "You began before permission. We began after evidence." His translator clicked through a sound that almost became approval. Good. Permission is slow. That night, Elias sent the newest acceleration model. Arrival was not months away, 30 days. The first target remained Veyra. The room understood the cruelty of it without anyone saying so. The world that dismissed the warning would be the first to need it. As the countdown reached its final month, Veyra asked for comfort when only truth could save it.
Veyra's government did not warn its people at first. It released careful statements about distant irregularities near the outer veil. It told citizens there was no cause for alarm. It said the Stellar Assembly was reviewing human data with appropriate seriousness. The words were calm, balanced, and nearly useless. Pride rarely dies at once. It bargains first. On the 28th day, the high voice contacted Earth. I stood in Luna 9's command room, wearing a plain black uniform with no ceremonial markings. Behind me, Earth turned slowly on the main wall.
I wanted Veyra to see exactly what it had underestimated. The high voice appeared in gold light, but its edges flickered. Its face remained composed, its eyes did not. "Commander Keene," it said, "we understand humanity may possess updated information about the phenomenon previously discussed." "The invasion," I said. A pause. "The matter remains under classification review." "No," I replied, "it remains under denial." The room behind me went silent. I sent the files: full path geometry, acceleration curve, enemy message, observation path, Veyra's position as first target. The high voice read without interruption. With every line, its ancient confidence seemed to thin. "How long?" it asked. "Less than 2 days." For once, it had no prepared language. "Can Earth assist?" I had waited to hear that question through 18 months of hidden construction and sleepless command cycles. I expected anger to rise. Instead, I felt a tired sadness. Fear had finally taught them what evidence could not. "Earth can assist," I said, "but not under assembly command. Your command structure is built for peacekeeping, not survival combat. If our people engage, they follow Terran battle doctrine." The high voice lowered its head. "Tell us what must be done." Those words carried the first useful humility I had heard from Veyra. We sent instructions immediately. Break fleet formation, silence open channels, scatter civilian transports, move hospitals underground, place shield power near water and oxygen systems. Do not meet the enemy in visible order. Do not wait for perfect information. Some commanders obeyed, others argued. A few tried to preserve old doctrine because it looked noble on screens. The ones who listened saved lives later. Veyra had 17 hours left when space above it folded. No thunder announced the arrival. No flame crossed the sky. 9 massive forms appeared above the silver clouds, each one dark enough to make the stars behind it seem nervous. The first cities did not burn. Their air simply began to thin. Emergency shields rose. Some held, some failed. People ran beneath a sky that was not falling, but being removed. The Hall of Orbits sent one public message before its outer relays broke. We were wrong. Then every emergency channel turned toward Earth. Veyra had learned too late that belief without action is only another form of surrender. The emergency request broken by static, alarms, and voices trying not to panic. The high voice no longer stood beneath ceremony. Gold light flickered around it in damaged strips. Behind it, delegates argued, cried, and called distant fleets that were already too slow. Through the chamber glass, Veyra's upper atmosphere faded in pale layers. "The Stellar Assembly requests immediate military aid," it said. No one in Luna 9 moved. Rook stood beside me. Elias watched from Reykjavik. Tessa Ward, now assigned to 1st Lantern Squadron, waited at a combat console with her helmet under one arm. She no longer looked like the frightened mechanic from Callisto, but fear had not left her. It had learned to stand properly. I looked at the high voice. 18 months ago, humanity asked the Assembly to investigate. You classified our warning as fear. Its voice changed, softer, smaller. We were wrong. The words should have mattered more. But apology cannot restore lost time. It cannot rebuild shelters that were never built, or train pilots who were never called. Earth will help, I said, under terms. The chamber behind the high voice erupted before I named them. I continued anyway. Full recognition of Earth as an equal power, removal of all probationary restrictions, a permanent human seat in any future defense body, immediate Terran command authority over this engagement for all forces requesting our aid. A delegate shouted that humanity was exploiting tragedy. I answered without raising my voice. No, we are preventing your tragedy from becoming universal. The high voice stared at me through a failing transmission. How long do we have to decide? 60 seconds. The countdown appeared on my display. During those seconds, I watched Veyra's atmosphere loss rate climb. Numbers can become cruel when they are honest. Every delay had weight. Every objection had a body attached somewhere below. At 52 seconds, the high voice returned. The terms are accepted and recorded. I turned to Tessa. Lantern code. Her hands moved fast. Not perfect, fast enough. Across human space, the hidden fleet stopped pretending. Lunar shipyards opened, Mars engines ignited, Ceres platforms unfolded, mining stations became fortress points, Dravik warships aligned beside Terran carriers, Sorin vessels spread thin sensor wings, Bran shield cruisers took the front. At the center waited the Elias Vale, named before Elias could object strongly enough to stop it. Inside was the signal breaker, a weapon designed not to overpower the enemy, but to confuse its shared mind. I opened the fleet-wide channel. Veyra is under attack. Our warning was refused, but our duty was not. Protect civilians where possible. Preserve movement. Trust disorder. Jump on my mark. For one heartbeat, the fleet held. Then it vanished toward Veyra. Humanity entered the battle without clean lines, and the enemy faced a kind of war its ancient map had never drawn.
The Terran Allied fleet arrived at Veyra like scattered sparks, not a wall. Some ships appeared above the polar shields, others emerged behind dead satellites, near broken traffic lanes, inside debris clouds, and beneath the planet's curve. The assembly observers mistook the pattern for disorder. That mistake saved lives. The enemy erased the old peace fleet because it moved beautifully. Straight formations, oaken signals, noble approach vectors, and command rituals polished by centuries of safety. Beauty had made them readable. We arrived ugly on purpose. False heat signatures bloomed from empty space. Cargo shells separated into decoys. Fighters changed course before completing any predictable arc. Old mining lasers fired from platforms that had no official weapons listing. Veskar navigators bent jump exits closer to danger than most species considered sane. The first revision strike hit a decoy cloud. Nothing real vanished. A breath moved through Luna 9. Proof is powerful when fear has been waiting for it. Black Sparrow pattern, I ordered. Do not repeat a movement longer than 4 seconds. Tessa Squadron entered the upper atmosphere, where air was thinning and shield towers were failing. Their mission was to draw attention, not win glory. 6 small fighters against things large enough to shadow cities. They are reading us, Tessa said. Let them read a lie, I replied. Her squadron split. 2 ships fell toward the cloud line. 3 climbed. Tessa cut sideways between them, releasing a false engine bloom. The enemy struck the bloom and clipped the edge of its own field. A tremor passed across one of the massive forms. Kavor saw it instantly. Dravik forward group, strike that wound. His ships did not rush. They drove. Heavy fire hammered the damaged surface, while Terran fighters dragged enemy targeting away in sharp, uneven patterns. Sorin vessels mapped the field distortions and fed corrections to every Allied gun. Otari engineers adjusted shield frequencies in real time. For 8 minutes, the battle looked impossible to understand.
That was the point. Then one enemy form cracked inward, folding along a line of pale light until half its body collapsed into absence. Veyra's emergency channels fell silent. They had seen the impossible harmed. The cost followed. 3 Terran ships vanished above the northern evacuation corridor. A Soran vessel held position over a hospital district until civilian transports cleared the zone. Its captain, Elias Vale, sent one message before impact: continue. Then her ship was gone. I wrote her name. Command requires decisions. Memory is what keeps those decisions human. The Elias Vale moved toward the center formation while the enemy adjusted. Elias appeared through static. The breaker needs 6 minutes inside the field. 6 minutes. On every screen, the remaining enemy forms began turning toward him. The fleet had wounded the impossible, but now it had to buy 6 minutes with courage, skill, and lives.
The Elias Vale became the center of the war. Every enemy form adjusted toward it with slow, terrible precision. They did not chase in anger. They calculated. One clear line would be enough. One stable lock, and the ship carrying our only real chance would disappear from space. Cover the Elias Vale, I ordered. Terran ships moved first because they had trained for this exact panic. Dravik vessels formed heavy interference lanes. Soran and Veskar craft spread through the upper field, feeding sensor corrections. Bran shield cruisers took positions that would burn their cores if they held too long. Then the assembly ships joined. They were frightened. Their movement was uneven, but they came. That mattered. Tessa's squadron cut across the enemy's targeting arc. "You are exposed," I told her. "That is useful today," she answered. Her fighters released heat ghosts and signal fragments. The enemy erased 2 false trails, then a cloud of metal dust, then a space where Tessa had been half a second earlier. "Still here," she said, breathless. 4 minutes remained. The Elias Vale entered the distortion zone. Elias had insisted on being aboard. He said the breaker needed human judgment in the last sequence, not remote commands filtered through systems the enemy might corrupt. We argued until neither of us had anything new to say. Now he was inside the field, guiding a weapon built from his years of listening. "Status," I said privately. "Charging. The shared signal is stronger near the center." "Can you cut it?" "I can wound it. If the wound spreads, the network falls apart." "And if it does not?" He did not answer immediately. Then we learned something too late. 3 minutes. Kavor's flagship crossed in front of the largest enemy form. Its shields flared white. "Kavor, pull back before your core fails." "No," he said. "A shield that never breaks has never been tested honestly." The revision strike took half his ship. The remaining half continued firing. For one breath, every channel froze. Then Kavor's voice returned, rough and calm. "Shield tested." 2 minutes. Some assembly ships began drifting into formation, old training pulling them toward neat lines. I opened every allied channel. "Do not look brave. Stay alive. Break your habits before the enemy uses them." They scattered. The next strike missed. 1 minute. Elias spoke softly. "Mara, if this works, do not let them turn it into a story about human superiority." "What should it be about?" "Listening before disaster makes heroes necessary." The breaker fired before I could answer. A white pulse spread through Veyra's damaged sky. Every enemy form stopped. For the first time, their silence felt wounded. The enemy lost its shared rhythm, and the rescue of the Elias Vale became the most dangerous mission of the battle. The pulse struck without sound. but every living mind near the command net felt its pressure. In Luna 9, a sensor officer dropped to one knee. Across the fleet, pilots reported cold flashes, missing thoughts, and voices that were not voices. The enemy network was not only a signal, it was a presence pressing through space, and the breaker had cut into it. Tessa shouted, "The forms are separating!" She was right. Above Veyra, the enemy no longer moved like one creature wearing many bodies. One form turned toward the Elias Vale, another drifted off target, a third fired at a false signature and damaged its own field edge. Coordination, the thing that had made them godlike, was failing. "Extraction now!" I ordered. 3 rescue craft launched. The nearest enemy form fired. 2 disappeared before reaching midpoint. The third kept going. Tessa again. Her fighter was scarred, leaking power, and never designed for ship recovery. She flew into the distortion field anyway and locked onto the Elias Vale's emergency port. "Tessa, report! Attached, trying to open transfer." Elias appeared on my private screen. Blood marked his temple. Behind him, the bridge was dim except for emergency red. "The breaker is still linked. If I detach before the cascade completes, the network may repair." "How long?" 2 minutes. 2 minutes had already become a cruel number in this battle. Kavor's broken flagship moved into cover position. Dravik ships gathered around him. Brawn cruisers added shield weight. Sorin vessels fed Tessa a narrow route through the shifting field. Assembly ships, no longer elegant, filled gaps wherever they appeared. They were learning in the middle of terror. A Brawn cruiser vanished protecting the rescue line. A Terran ship named Morning Lantern lost its forward half, but its rear guns kept firing until power died. A Nayli medical vessel abandoned safety to pull civilians from a collapsing orbital shelter and paid for it seconds later. I wrote down every name I received. The list grew faster than my hand could move. Elias whispered, 30 seconds. Thin white cracks spread across the enemy forms, their surfaces bent as if the laws holding them together had become uncertain. Then every human screen displayed a message. "You are wrongly made." For a moment, the whole room seemed to wait for my answer. I opened the broadcast channel. "No," I said. "We are made from every ending that failed to finish us." Elias smiled through static. Then he completed the cascade. The enemy network shattered. Above Veyra, the remaining forms broke apart, not as defeated ships, but as broken ideas losing shape. The first battle was over. Then a final signal escaped the collapse. Its direction was Earth. Veyra survived, but the enemy's last message turned the victory into a race for humanity's home. For 3 seconds, the final signal looked like noise. Then, Elias, still aboard the damaged Elias Vale, found its shape. "Mara," he said, voice weak but clear. That was not a command. What was it? A report. Every tactical display shifted toward Path 18, Earth. No one needed to explain the rest. The enemy had studied humanity before the battle. Now something beyond the broken network had received what it learned. Around Veyra, wrecked shadows faded from orbit. The atmosphere stopped thinning. Cities under emergency shields remained wounded, but alive. Billions had survived because people they had once dismissed had arrived prepared. There was no time to enjoy it. I opened the fleet channel. All Terran forces returned to Earth defense positions. Allies willing to continue follow our jump path. Veyra Rescue Command transfers to local authority. Move now. No one questioned me. Even the assembly ships obeyed before fully understanding. That was the first proof that the galaxy had changed, not because it praised humanity. Praise is easy after victory. It changed because it listened while afraid. The jump home felt longer than the months before the war. Earth grew on the main screen, blue and white against the dark. I had controlled fear for so long that feeling it fully almost hurt. That world held everyone who had built, waited, trusted, and never known how close the edge had come. The final enemy form arrived near the moon before all defensive lines were ready. It was smaller than the Veyra forms, damaged perhaps, old, perhaps only a messenger with teeth. But its revision field began charging as soon as it faced Earth. Then it spoke through Luna 9. "We see why you survive." Tessa's voice came from First Lantern Channel. "Commander, permission to lead first strike." Her fighter was patched, scarred, and still flying. "Granted." This time, humanity did not stand as the only prepared species. Dravik ships formed shield pressure. Sorin vessels mapped field weakness. Braun cruisers absorbed the first strike. Veskar navigators bent approach angles. Assembly ships broke formation without being told twice. Human fighters moved through the gaps, fast and irregular, not from chaos, but from practice. The enemy tried to predict us. It found no stable answer. The Elias Vale, wounded but functional, fired the breaker one final time. The shadow froze above the moon. A crack opened through its center. For a moment, it seemed almost small. Then it vanished. Earth remained. The command room did not cheer immediately. People simply breathed. Across the planet, lights appeared city by city, station by station, ship by ship. Most people would never know every name that held the sky in place, but they would have mourning. Months later, I returned to Veyra. The old stellar assembly had dissolved. In its place stood the Council of Watchers. Its first law was simple. No warning would be dismissed because the voice was young. Earth received its permanent seat. Elias survived and returned to research, though pain stayed in his body. Tessa became captain of the 1st Mixed Defense Squadron. Rook retired again, and this time we allowed him to pretend it would last. I carried one truth from the war. Humanity was not saved by fearlessness. We were saved because fear made us look, love made us build, and stubborn hope made us stand. The galaxy remembered the war as the day darkness came, but humanity remembered it as the day listening became survival.